All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday, December 15th, and we're doing our semi-regular recap of what we've been up to lately. Here with my office manager, Michael Zamora, who's going to be asking me some questions so we can make it a little more conversational than last time. I think we got 12 views on our YouTube channel, so hopefully Mike will bring more more viewership to the recap that we had. But I do want to just sort of go through some of the things that we were doing and talk about where we were. We practiced in several different counties. We practiced in Lavaca County. We practiced in obviously in Bexar County, and juvenile court in Bexar County, and federal court in Bexar County, and district court in Bexar County, and county court in Bexar County. We did that. Uh, we also we we practiced in Uvalde and Comal County also. So we've been going all over the place in South Central Texas, and getting good results for our clients. And so some of the things that we've been doing. We had a client on Monday. He was charged with unlawfully carrying a weapon and possessing marijuana. Most people don't realize that when they possess marijuana, if they possess marijuana, and they have a handgun, the mere possession of the handgun becomes a crime because you are possessing the handgun while committing a different crime, and it causes some trouble, and that becomes an issue. So he had a situation where he was accused of both of those things, and as we were looking at the evidence, it became very clear that maybe some video had been destroyed. And so as we looked at that, we brought that up to the prosecutors, and today not today, but this week they agreed to dismiss that case, and so he's completely free of those charges, which was a great result for him. We had a juvenile case who he was somebody who was accused of being in possession of a stolen firearm and possession of drugs. This was a situation where we had this kid, and he was obviously a juvenile, and so he was a child. But he was 15, 16 years old, and he was the driver of a vehicle. Uh, Actually, he was 16 years old, but he was the driver of a vehicle, and in the backpack behind him was a stolen firearm. And so there was an issue uh, as to whose firearm that was. Uh, Possession in Texas is defined as care, custody, or control. And so there's always a challenge when you're driving and you're accused of possessing something in your vehicle, as to whether or not there's care, custody, and control there. And so we were arguing that because it was in the backpack and it was the other kid's backpack, that he did not have care, custody, and control. But also, interestingly enough, there was a search issue there. So the Bexar County constable who was doing the search there said that he smelled cigarettes on our 16-year-old client, and initiated the search because he smelled cigarettes, and detained him because he smelled cigarettes. Well, that's not enough. And so we pointed that out to the state. They looked things over, and as much as they wanted to go forward on that possession of the stolen firearm and possession of the drugs that they found in the vehicle, as much as they wanted to go forward on that, they decided not to do that because they knew they couldn't overcome that constitutional challenge. So that was another good result. So what else? What else do we have going on?
Well, Shannon, you mentioned that you were in a couple of different counties this week around Bexar County. And I know you already went through a couple of those cases, but how many dismissals in all the cases that we had in the counties, federal and Bexar County? How many dismissals out of the 2 dozen cases or so we had this past week? Would you say that we had dismissals for?
I think we probably ended up getting 4 or 5 dismissals,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was. I think that's a pretty high ratio, frankly, for a regular week. So we had a week where we're coming back from the holidays, and so a lot of cases that had been set before the holidays were sort of getting dumped onto this week. It was a very high volume week, something we're used to doing, but we had 4 or 5 dismissals. Uh, so we did go to a couple different counties. It's always interesting to go out of town. Uh, I enjoy going out of town. I think it's good to get to know other legal systems and how other counties do business. Uh, Sometimes people worry. They think that you need to hire local counsel, and I think that it's important to be an attorney that is familiar with how things are run. But I've always been treated fairly, no matter where I've gone in Texas. I've always been treated fairly by the judges that I practice in front of.
And what's the easiest way for a client out of town who needs legal representation and wants somebody with a great track record? What is the easiest way for them to find us?
Well, they can always put us into Google. They can look us up on a website called Avvo, AVVO. They can look at our reviews and just give us a call. Uh, so what I
And what's that phone number, Shannon?
It's 210-229-8300. And so, but also, we do phone consultations if you can't come into the office. We try to get everybody into the office. You can get a tour of the Lock Law Group studios firsthand. And so you could always come in if you want to make the drive. If you can't make the drive, then we'll do it over the phone. Usually I'll call you from my personal cell phone. That way you'll have that number. And that's a really important factor when you're, especially if you're not living in the county where you're accused of committing a crime. You want an attorney that's going to be very accessible to you, because court dates may need to get adjusted. You may not want to travel unnecessarily. All of that is really important to take into consideration, and something that we do a lot of. And so that's an important factor. But the important thing to know, I think, is that it's good to get sometimes an attorney with a fresh perspective. So if you go into a small town in Texas, the prosecutors there are usually people that are wanting to do the right thing. The judge wants to be fair, and so he's going to treat that out-of-town lawyer with respect. And so it's not something to be scared of, to be a new face. These judges, for the most part, are absolutely wanting to do justice. They want to give you a fair shake. They want to hear your side of the story, and as long as you're not afraid to do that, they're willing to listen to you, and that's an important thing to do. So one of the cases that we had that was out of town, it was in an outlying county, and our client was charged with evading arrest in a motorcycle. He was charged with resisting arrest, and he was also charged with reckless driving. And so at the end of the day, we got him to get a time-served conviction on a reckless driving case. His evading arrest with a motor vehicle was dismissed. His resisting arrest was dismissed. And he was actually the husband of a woman who was in the military and who was serving overseas. And so the concern in that case was, how is he going to be supervised? How is he going to serve out his sentence? His family has sort of been split apart by this case. How are they going to reunite? Now they can, because he essentially got a fine-only reckless driving conviction. And so that was a big win that's going to have an immediate impact on how he lives his life, and an immediate impact on his children. He's going to be home for the holidays, or he's going to be with his wife for the holidays, which will be a great thing. And so that was a really rewarding thing to see. That was nice. We also had a federal case that we had. That was a story I definitely wanted to tell, because it was just so remarkable. It reminded me, and actually the federal part of it got resolved last week. And those of you who are from San Antonio remember that last week we had our first snowfall in, what was it? It was like 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. And so we had a client who was accused of a sexual offense in the federal court system, and the sexual offense that he was accused of carried with it a 10-year minimum mandatory prison sentence. So had he been found guilty of that, he would have started off, the judge could not have given him less than 10 years. We looked at that case, and we talked to the prosecutors, and everybody agreed that a 10-year sentence on this person would have just been too severe. We were able to move that case over to the state side, which was kind of a remarkable thing. What happened was, while he was waiting, he was under house arrest, and he was in this house arrest. And when he did that house arrest, it was so strict that he couldn't go outside. Okay, he had to email somebody to go outside and take out the trash. He had a schedule where he could do yard work for his folks. He was under that much scrutiny, and so the day he got his case arrested, dismissed, the next day was the day that it snowed, and it sort of brought to mind an Isaac Asimov story that I read when I was, I guess, in high school, where these people on a distant planet, they saw the sun like once. It was once in a lifetime. It was a once in a lifetime event. The sun would rise and set, and it was something that everybody was looking forward to because it was this once in a lifetime thing. And in this book, the short story, the kids push one of the kids into a broom closet and lock her in there so she misses this once in a lifetime event. And to me, it brought that to mind because we were sitting there, and this kid would have to have emailed, and nobody knew that it was going to snow. Really, it took everybody by surprise. Nobody believed that it would snow in San Antonio. And then, so he would have had to email in advance, hey, can I go outside? You know, and then maybe the lady would have said yes, maybe she would have said no, who knows. But the case got dismissed, and it just happened the next day it snowed. And, you know, when we deal with these cases, it really does impact people on a day-to-day basis. And that was a gratifying thing. So we had a very successful week, and hopefully we'll have continued luck going through the holidays. Thanks.
Till next week, guys.
Yep. Thank you.